Hello everybody, welcome back to yet another video. Today we're going to be breaking down Tokyo Mater to see all the Easter eggs, character cameos, and other things in it. I'm just going to say Tokyo Mater is probably my favorite of all of the Cars Toons, just because of all of the diecasts that were released for it. It has the most diecast releases out of any of the Cars Toons. And aside from that, it really just seems to have the most full plot, whereas usually it's like, hey buddy, I used to be a firefighter, cuts to 2 minutes of Mater fighting a single fire. This, to me, feels like the most, Cars-like plot. Mater gets caught up in Tokyo in a drift race against a, racing drift king named Komodo. It's really cool. And a whole lot of the characters from this ended up cameoing in Cars 2 later. It's really just one of my favorite things because of all the interesting background characters, as well as, again, having such a full plot. A whole lot of stuff happens in this despite only being 5 minutes long. And that all begins with the very first scene of the Cars Toon. We begin with Sheriff rolling down Radiator Springs, just driving by, where we see Ramon, Flo, and a bunch of other Radiator Springs townies in the background. Pay close attention to Ramon's paint job because he is, I believe, in his Ghostlight paint job. It's either the purple one or the Ghostlight one. It's quite hard to tell, sadly. I'm kind of leaning more towards it being the Ghostlight one, but it may just be his classic purple. Then after that, GJ, Boost, and Wingo all drift on by. I don't know why Snotrod doesn't appear in this, but it's probably because Snotrod is an American muscle car, whereas Wingo, DJ, and Boost are all Tokyo imports. They're all Japanese import cars, as Sheriff calls them, import punks in the short. And since Snotrod isn't one of the import cars, that's probably why he wasn't included. Mater explains that he used to be an import car, and the events of Mater's Tall Tale begin. Mater finds a car named Ito-san crashed outside of Radiator Springs, and he says he needs a tow, but it turns out he actually needs a tow all the way to Tokyo. Mater pops up out of the sea into Tokyo, and this is where one of the first Easter eggs shows up. Pay very close attention to the upper left-hand corner where you will find a Dinoco building. Up next, we get a whole lot of shots, establishing shots of the Tokyo streets, which all have a whole bunch of different Easter eggs and references to different Piston Cup sponsors, like the Vitaline one here, but I'm not going to be going through every single time one of these shows up because they appear throughout the background of the whole short, but here is a Vitaline billboard. The locations on these highway signs include Tokyo Avenue, Mount Fuji, Downtown Street, Kyoto, Tokyo Avenue, and Park Avenue, as well as a few others that are a bit hard to figure out. And there are billboards everywhere. Here are a few for RPM, as well as one right here for N20 Cola. There's also one for Easy Idle, a warm start to a cold morning. There's then this advertisement of this spark plug, and then it shows a whole bunch of spark plugs dancing from side to side. This is actually a reference to a cancelled Mater's Tall Tale, which only made it in the early development storyboarding stage. That's what you're seeing on screen now, the storyboards, where Mater became a model and makes a joke about how he was big in Japan. Then we see Mater advertising these spark plugs. He pops up, starts singing, and the spark plugs are actually moving from side to side in the background. As you can see there, Mater with the large, sparkly, cartoonish eyes actually pops up at the beginning of Tokyo Mater if you're watching it through the DVD that compiles all Cars Toons, where every single Cars Toon has a unique, if I'm lying, I'm crying. Mater pops out and then has these huge eyes. That's possibly a reference to that commercial as well. And then we see Chuki on the news reporting on Komodo. This seems to possibly be reused footage from the first Cars movie, just with Komodo there instead of McQueen. And if you look closely, Komodo's eyes seem to just kind of be blankly staring. This actually seems to be a picture of Komodo in concept art, the way that the Cars concept art or early models are drawn on their model sheets. We get a few more logos here for RPM, and after that, the Vitaline logo once again shows up where Mater and Ito-san park, and right below that, Mater's right next to a nitrate sign. And of course, you can't forget about No Stall, even though I almost forgot that was there. Oops. Then we get my favorite part of the cartoon, because it's where we have a whole bunch of scenes of nothing but cool background characters. I love the background character designs on this, and you can see right below that nitrate sign is a Dinoco logo, and the first of many background characters who got diecasts pop up. This is Cho. If she looks familiar to you with her white and pink butterfly designs, that's because she seems to be based off of Emma from the Cars Mater National video game. It's a running trend with a bunch of characters. You'll see the same thing later on, Tabinu and Manji. After Cho goes by, we see Kayandi from the side, who's another character who got a diecast. All of the female characters in the background, and quite a few of the male characters in the background, all are using the larger, sparkly eyes, more anime-esque eyes, just to kind of set them apart and look unique. A lot of these characters cameo in Cars 2, but that eye design was actually dropped, and they just use the normal character eyes. We then get a quick glimpse of Komodo, really cool character design. He's, of course, based off of a Komodo dragon type of lizard. And he has two girls, one on his left side, one on his right side. The one on his right side, or our left, is actually Suki. She shows up all over this shore and also all over Cars 2. You just gotta love how disgusted everybody looks at the sight of Mater. The car on the other side of Komodo just has like my favorite expression on any Cars background character. And moving on, we get to see Yokoza, one of my favorite background characters. I know I'll be saying that a lot in this video. While Komodo is actually based off of Wingo, just without a spoiler, their diecasts are the same model without the spoiler. Yokoza here is based off of DJ. On Yokoza's right, you can of course see a Gasprin logo on his upper right. The car on Yokoza's right is Harumi. She also cameoed in Cars 2. And the car on his left is Chisaki. Right above Chisaki is a mood spring sign. I just love how Chisaki, she looks like she's on guard duty or something, like somebody's about to come attack Yokoza and she's just ready to beat him up. Chisaki also cameoed in Cars 2, sitting next to Yokoza. Their diecasts have been released in 2-packs on multiple occasions. They're possibly in a relationship. But her diecast actually has an odd inaccuracy. Her eyelids are actually colored in fully dark brown or black. She's a very, very dark brown color that kind of looks more like a black color. Her diecast eyelids are actually that color, whereas here and in the actual Cars 2 movie, you could see her eyelids are white. They just have a bunch of makeup on them. Just would have been an odd thing. And Chisaki is one of the prime examples you can see here of how the eyes changed from Tokyo Mater to Cars 2. 3 of these dancer background characters pop up. These are actually different from Okuni and Shigeko and the others in Cars 2, in the fact that their parts that are meant to resemble hair look a bit more wiry and more like a spoiler. A fun fact you may not have noticed about a lot of the girls in the background here, like Suki and the others, their spoilers on top are meant to resemble hair bows. I think it's the most apparent on Chisaki. And earlier on in the short, you could see one of those dancers drinking some Dinoco fuel on a billboard. Again, Piston Cup sponsors pop up all over the place. There's a Gasprin one where you could only see the bottom of the logo earlier. I'm not going to mention them every time, because later on a lot of them pop up in Mater's reflection. But I just wanted to mention sort of the first time they show up and some notable appearances. Mater bumps into Kabuto, who drives a circle around him. He's being surrounded by his ninjas that Mater has to fight off later on. And it's here where we get our first look and one of our only looks at a background character named Yojimbo from an overhead view. He's another car based off of DJ. And we also see another overhead look at Cho. Here's a better look at Yojimbo from a few seconds later. You could also see a Dinoco logo behind him. Soon after, Mia and Tia make a cameo here. Notice how their usual McQueen stickers are replaced with some Japanese characters. Mater gets his modifications for the drift race, and we get a very cool overhead shot here where a whole bunch of background characters make cameos, including Suki, who is in the left towards the top, Right below her is Komodo. Below him is Yokoza. Over on the far, far left of the screen is Ichigo, who has strawberries painted all over her. And a pretty interesting one towards the corner seems to be DJ, who actually cameos later on in here in Tokyo. I believe Cho also pops up again here. The cars admiring Mater's new paint job include Tabinu, who I already mentioned was based off of a character from the Cars Mater National video game. He's actually based off of Koji, who is a Japanese racer, so it's kind of disappointing that they didn't just make him Koji. Close enough, maybe they're related. Who knows, maybe Tabinu is going undercover in a police operation. I doubt it. Kayandi also appears from the front, and Yojimbo is partially covered by Tabinu, but you can see him as well. We see Cho, who's just freaking out over this paint job, and in our first look at Tokyo Mater, you can see one of the many reflection cameos. You can see Chuki here, still doing her news report, as I already said. Nitro Wade logo makes a cameo later on. In most of these shots, you could just see some of the Piston Cup logos in the background, including this Drink Fun Dinoco logo. Right next to that's a pretty cool car with a rainbow design on his side. Disappointing he was never released. But a car right next to him this is Bye Bye Car, with a little drawing of a carified version of a cat on her, clearly a reference to Hello Kitty, probably. And if you want to pick up her diecast, you can get her for only $47.95 US on Amazon and Walmart.com. You're going to have to say bye-bye to your dreams of getting Bye Bye Car, unless you want to pay nearly $50, or even higher off of eBay. And right above them is another No Stall logo. We then have this really cool shot of Mater spinning around where Ichigo, with her strawberry paint job, and Yokoza also show up. Harumi and Bye Bye to Your Wallet Car show up here too. And as Mater and Yokoza take off, we have my favorite Easter egg, a Buy n Large advertisement. Here they're selling lug nuts in a cup. Of course, Buy n Large is the company that basically took over the planet in WALL-E. It's since made cameos in Buzz Lightyear's batteries in Toy Story 3 and on a racetrack in Cars 3, among some other ones. You can also see some odd, different Gasprin logos. This time around, they don't use the normal little pill logo. This is just the word Gasprin. Don't know what's going on there. And here's just another shot of Bye Bye Car. Mater quickly shoots through a restaurant where you could actually get a really cool cameo from Mike and Sully from Monsters, Inc. These are their, of course, Monster Truck, Inc. Appearances from the first Cars movie. It's very odd that they showed up here, but of course there was a scene in the sushi restaurant in Monsters, Inc. And it's really cool to see them here. Definitely a blink and you'll miss it cameo, since I had to slow down the footage to see them, actually. And after this, Mater gets kind of stuck on the road, where he speeds by Van Son, a car very similar in appearance and in name to Van. Mater's reckless driving catches the attention of Patoka here, a police car who's seen right next to a Nitro Wade sign. He speeds off, eventually getting caught up in a donut shop, of course, a reference to that classic joke of police officers loving donuts. Komodo sends his ninjas after Mater, and check out this really cool design choice with the ninjas there. The inside of their wheels are made to look like ninja throwing stars. But just in time, McQueen shows up to help fight the ninjas. This is, of course, Lightning Dragon McQueen. And listen very closely to the way McQueen speaks in this short. His lines are delivered to kind of sound like he's dubbing over a line said in Japanese. That's at least what it reminds me of, which is a pretty cool audio thing there. The half-pipe that Mater and McQueen drift on is full of a bunch of graffiti, including the word drift. And Mater loses all of his modifications after driving across the oil-slicked half-pipe. And a really cool thing added on to Mater here is this photo you'll see here is from his diecast. But Tokyo Mater's design actually has a bunch of Piston Cup sponsor stickers on his window from companies such as Nitro Wade, Vitaline, and also RPM, all companies that cameo on the billboards in this short. And as Mater goes up to the entryway of Tokyo Tower, we could see Manji, who's another car based off of one of the video game characters. He is actually based off of the German racer Otto von Fassenbottom. That's a great name. And on his right is Suki. On her right is Bye Bye Car. We'll get a better look at Monty in just a second. On the other side, on the far right, is Yojimbo. Probably our best look at him from the side, aside from in the diecast form. The difference between him and Yokoza, aside from the color, is that while Yokoza has that mohawk, Yojimbo has a bunch of panels all over his roof. On his left is an unnamed character. On her left seems to be Cho. On Cho's left, another unnamed character. And then next to him, I believe it's a him, is Komodo again. In the end, Mater is able to win by using his tow cable to get up to the top of Tokyo Tower. And here we can see our best shot of Ichigo and all of her strawberries. And when Kabuto loses all of his modifications, something that sounds kind of like a digital chime plays, as if he's lost a life in a video game or is leveled down. And since Kabuto lost, he needs to have all of his modifications removed. Kabuto is, of course, based off of Boost's model, so this is basically what Boost would have looked like if he didn't have all the spoilers and everything. Also, a really cool fun fact is that Kabuto is actually the name of a samurai helmet in Japanese. And during the sequence where he loses his modifications, a whole bunch of characters cameo once again. Cho and Suki show up here on the side, as well as a weird animation error. The car next to Cho seems to be Chisaki, but she's missing her spoiler on top. I don't know if this is a different character or what, but it's a really odd error here. Then here we get another close look at Tabinyu, as well as Manji. Here's the best look at him where you could really tell how much he's basically just Otto from Cars International. And in the final dance party scene, a whole ton of characters show up, but I'd like you all to pay very close attention to the top of the screen. The gray car with some black modifications on him is Tan Sao. His diecast was actually cancelled. Yojimbo also appears next to him, and next to Yojimbo is Bye Bye Car again. Yeah, Tan Sao also looks pretty similar to Koji, but just gray. Cho and Ichigo also show up underneath Bye Bye Car. And right next to Ichigo, we can see Ito-san dancing, and next to Ito-san's Komodo, as well as Yokoza and Chisaki. This is still the weird error Chisaki without her bow spoiler. Really don't know what's going on there. Suki pops up at the bottom of the screen. And so do Manji and DJ. Not just a car that looks like DJ, this is actually DJ. With the correct color, the green stripes, the stereo in the back, and it's really interesting that he was the only one they showed in Tokyo. I guess they thought we need a dance party scene, who's going to be playing the music? That's at least how I would have planned it out. And in the way top, you could also see Ka Risu. He also has a diecast. He also popped up at the beginning of the short when Kabuto's spinning around, but I missed out on him because he's such a minor character. It's odd, really, that he got a diecast, that Manji got a diecast, but Suki didn't get a diecast until Cars 2, same thing with Chisaki. Ichigo was a Chase. Harumi, who is like the cool red ribbon car, didn't get a diecast until Cars 2. I'm sure that's probably because they had their diecasts being produced during like early development stages while Tokyo Mater was released. But it's pretty interesting, the diecasts they chose. Of course, Yokoza and Komodo were great choices. They have pretty major cameos in this. I just find it odd that cars like Manji and Ka Risu and found their way into the background. Weird that they would cancel Tan Sao when he appears just as much as a bunch of the other background characters. Anyway guys, thank you all so much for watching. I'll see you guys next time. Bye now.